Hello, this is the Ramblings of an Undisciplined Mind podcast for Tuesday, May 31st, 2016. As of this recording, Sierra is still missing. And this is week 9 of my capstone class. We're getting there. And today I'm going to talk about habit 7 in Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This is the last one. I finished the book yesterday, so I'm done with this part of the reading for my class. I've got other readings I'm working on, but this piece is done, so that's actually rather nice. So let's talk about it. Habit 7 is Sharpen the Saw. And he says that it surrounds the other habits. So like in the book, he's got this little paradigm that's a circle, and the bottom part is the private victory, so that's habits 1, 2, and 3, and the top part is the public victory, which is habits 4, 5, and 6, and then around all these is habit 7, which is sharpen the saw. And he does that because he says it's the habit that makes the other habits possible. And basically what it's talking about is just taking the time to better yourself, to learn new skills, to do things. He calls it the 4 dimensions of renewal. He's talking about making it personal PC. And if you remember, we had the P/PC balance, PC being production control, your ability to do things. This is your personal ability. You're taking charge of increasing and improving your personal production capability through introspection and knowledge and things of that nature. So the 4 dimensions of renewal are physical, which are things like exercise, nutrition, and stress management. You've got social and emotional, which is service, empathy, synergy, and intrinsic security. Spiritual, value clarification, commitment, study, and meditation. And mental, reading, visualizing, planning, and writing. And he says, well, a lot of different philosophies may not use the same wordings. They really kind of boil down to these same 4 concepts there. So the other thing he points out, this is a definite Quadrant 2 activity. And if you recall, Quadrant 2 means that it is important, but it's not urgent. So it's something you have to make the time to do. It's very important to do, but it's not something that's going to be urgent, that you're going to be feeling a great urgency to get it done, or people are going to be bugging you to get it done. It's something you're going to have to make time to do because of the importance of it, but realize it can get kind of drowned out by a lot of urgency from other areas if you let it. And working on this personal PC must be continued until it becomes second nature. He calls it a kind of a healthy addiction. And because it's at the center of our circle of influence, the circle that we can control, no one else can do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves. And then he talks a bit about the physical dimension, and he talks about endurance and flexibility and strength, how physically by doing things over and over again, you build endurance. As you stretch in new ways, you get flexibility, and then as you expand your muscles, as you are doing things that are against resistance, you're going to get strength. That's gonna build up the same strength. And he says that's the same thing with emotional muscles. Like with patience, it's he told the story of a friend who was lifting weights, and he was spotting him, and the friend told him to, when given the signal, grab the weight. And the friend's doing the exercises, and he's slowing down. And it was like at the very edge of him not being able to hold it up that he indicated for Stephen to grab it. And Stephen asked him, "Why did it take so long?" It's like, because it's at the end there when I'm struggling the most, where the that's when I start building strength. That's where the advantage really comes. And he says it's the same thing with the emotional muscles as well. We have to get past our comfort area and get into that. And he talks about the spiritual dimension. That's related to habit 2. That's working on your core, your center, finding your values, realizing that it takes an investment of time, but it's a quadrant 2 activity that we can't ignore. So things like education, writing, organizing, and planning are things that go in there. And then he talks about how getting all that in can give us the ability to have a long and happy life because we're making meaningful contributions. And not just kind of moving to or fro based upon the winds of chance and the winds of change. He does say there is synergy in renewal. When you're doing balanced renewal, working on all 4 quadrants, they're going to be synergistic. Things you do to sharpen the saw in one dimension will have a positive impact in other dimensions because they are so highly interrelated. For example, your spiritual health affects your mental health. Your physical health affects your mental health. Your spiritual health affects your socio-economical health, socio-emotional health. So they are very interrelated. And he says that one thing we should be doing is engaging in the daily private victory. And that is the minimum of an hour a day in renewal of the physical, spiritual, and mental dimensions is a key to developing the 7 habits. And it's totally within our circle of influence. It's something we can choose to do. He also talks about the upward spiral. And that is that if you think about everything that we need to do, everything that he's talking about here and that we need to do in our lives is something that we have to, lather, rinse, repeat. We have to keep doing it. And he talks about how the spiral is very small at the beginning, at the bottom. It's relatively easy to do. And then when you get on the next iteration, then it's a little bit wider. And the next iteration, it's a little bit wider yet. And that's what he calls the upward spiral, because as you're moving through it, you're moving upward, which is a good direction. And it's taking longer to get through each loop. And that's because you're dealing with things that are much more complex the further up you go than when you're just beginning. He says moving along the upward spiral requires us to learn, to commit, and do on increasingly higher planes. We deceive ourselves if we think that any one of these is sufficient. To keep progressing, we must learn, commit, and do. Learn, commit, and do. That's that cycle. And learn, commit, and do again. And so that was the 7th habit, Sharpen the Saw. Or at least the highlights of it. I hope you've enjoyed kind of learning about this book with me. Once again, I said, as I mentioned before, I only got it for like $10, $7 on Kindle. It's not very expensive. So if it's something you think you'd want to check out, please do so. It's available. But I think I will let that be that for today. I will be back tomorrow. I'll be talking to you then. So, be seeing you.